And we are running. My dear friends, good evening, operator Starsky here. And it's a pleasure to introduce my friend, call sign Viper. But before we start talking, one thing that I have pleasure to announce is that one of our glorious and courageous moderators, Newman, today has birthday. So please share your congratulations in the chat, my dear friends. Newman, thank you so much. You are the man who keeps this chat safe and secure together with Katie and Ali. Thank you so much for everything you do. And before we start with the introduction, bro, do Russians make good fertilizer? Like, let's
Okay,
answer this
let's get that one
question.
off.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so you know what? Now we had a pre-discussion about borscht, okay? So imagine you're dating this awesome Ukrainian girl and she's making a mother's recipe like you said this long. Okay, and she asks you, "How is my borscht?" And like through Ukrainian you'll say, "Ah, normal." What do you think? You think you're gonna get any leg over at night? Definitely not. So you must write Russians are awesome fertilizer because good is in the same level as normal. Now that word I don't like. South Africans we like you either shit or you're not. We don't like normal. So Russians do make awesome fertilizer. I mean, you can just see in the woods that we operate in, it's flourishing. I mean, there's plants growing. Even in the winter, the grass is not even dying. That's a lot because it's minus 15 sometimes here. So, yeah, Russians definitely makes the best fertilizer.
Sounds good to me. Okay, now let's start with the introduction. What is your story? Uh, can you tell us where you're from and what were you doing before coming to Ukraine?
Okay, so I'm Viper. I'm a South African citizen, and grew up in the Northern Cape in South Africa. Not a lot of people will know where the Northern Cape is. A little town called Uppington, which is on the border of Namibia and South Africa. Um, yeah, had an amazing upbringing. My dad and mom are both pastors in a church, and from there went and studied. I've got a degree in supply chain logistics, and then later did my master's in business administration, MBA. Um, Okay, so let's go. Then I did 4 years in the South African Defence Force. After I've done 4 years in the South African Defence Force, then started studying, started working, went corporate, worked internationally in Germany, all over the world, and eventually decided that I want to start my own business. Didn't want to go to the bank and say, "Oh, please, can I loan some money?" So I did 5 years as a private military soldier in Africa, in the Congo and DRC, and also in Sierra Leone, where I got taught a lot of technical skills. And I only did it for the money, to be honest with you. It was a good salary. I could gain good experience and use that money to start my first company. And then, yeah, been having my own businesses since then. In 2017, I left South Africa due to the difficult circumstances there is for businesses. Things like power outages, tax rates, things like that, and started a company in Georgia in East Europe, the country, not the state, guys. Not everything is about America. So, what an amazing country. I mean, I fell in love with the people. They are the most welcoming, heartwarming, honest people that you can meet. Yeah, and I had a company there until still have the company, but started moving all the buttons in 2022, and it took me quite a bit of time. and then eventually joined the fight for Ukraine in 2023. And the reason why I came to fight, um, everybody always asks me, what was that bulb moment, that thing that went up in your head? So it wasn't one, it was a couple. One, at that stage, I had a Ukrainian friend of mine that was in Georgia that I started to learn about the culture, learned about the language, and learn how deeply invested they are in their country and their culture and what type of people the Ukrainians are. So that already intrigued me. But also then I will never forget. I was actually lying in bed watching some news and I saw a clip from Mariupol where there's a little blonde daughter, a little blonde girl, roughly about the age of 8, I think, at that stage running out of the building that was struck by the Pilaras and crying for a dad that just died. And I know that I've got a daughter in South Africa, and it struck home. It struck my heart, and then decided that yeah, that I need to make a difference. I need to give back, and that's the reason why I came to Ukraine. I mean, I've been successful in business. I've taken a lot from life, but I'm now at a stage where I need to give back. And there's no better cause than giving back for an amazing country with tenacious people like Ukraine. So, yeah, that's my
That
story in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. And that's very interesting that you've been to Georgia. You know a lot about Georgian people, you know a lot about Ukrainians. What, in your opinion, makes them so similar? Like, what kind of features they have that make them so similar?
The two, there's two characteristics that I will say that is very, very similar. It's the hospitality. Like when they really take you into their home, they will make a spread and you will feel part of the family. I think that's the one thing. And the second thing that I must say is um, they are rooted people. They are Ukrainians as well. They're rooted people. It's not about all the fancy smanchy little bling and the typical, well, Kiev a little bit more, I'll be honest. But I mean, if you move into the areas east and the little villages and things like that, they're hearts people. It's about the land. It's about producing for themselves, looking after themselves, hard work. I mean, that's characteristics that's, I think, getting lost in the latest generation. It's all about fast pace, quick money, and what I own. Um, I also say that coming back to Ukraine, being in the military again, taught me how to appreciate the small things in life. Because you get so busy, you're in such a rat race, that something like an awesome view in the morning in the trench when you wake up. I mean, the other morning we had fresh snowfall. It was white, white, white. The sky was clear and blue, and the sun was shining, and just that fresh air, cold, fresh air, and that beautiful glitter that you see on the snow. Something like that. It's something that when you're in the rat race of corporate and performance and things like that, you lose that. And it's getting back to that appreciation for the small things in life.
Yeah, I know how it feels. Oh my God. When we were on deployments, I would make like millions of photos every single day. Like there's like flowers on growing on a position, you know, and then there's morning and beautiful sunrises. But the thing that I appreciated most was basically good food, because good food back in those days didn't exist much. And I remember that my favorite stuff was literally bread with butter and cheese and sweet tea, you know,
Yeah.
tea.
Oh,
And I was consuming that in huge amounts because I was sergeant, I could afford. So I was consuming that in huge amounts, and I thought, when I go home after the deployment, I will only eat black bread and butter and cheese and sweet tea because it's so good. And of course, I didn't do that because you
No.
go like you relax at home and you have everything like Coca Cola and all that shit, McDonald's, of course. Uh, Tell me this: how did your family and your friends reacted when you told them that you are going to fight in Ukraine and defend our freedom?
I must say, my Georgian friends, it was difficult for them to understand because they only saw me as this corporate guy. So, I mean, it's not a the part of me that's military, that loves hunting, things like that is not something that they accustomed to. As far as my family went, I mean, my dad was a very high official in the South African Defence Force, so I think he always knew that it's something that I love to do. I mean, um, it's always difficult to explain to people how South Africa works because South Africa works like this. I started hunting when I was before I went to school. That's the age that I started hunting. I shot my first rifle when I was 5 years old. Um, so we grew up with this. It's a way like weapons handling. It was something my dad smacked into me from a small age. I mean, it's in our blood. It's in the way that we do things. So for them, I think it was my mom. Um, well, I mean, I'm a young, not a young guy. I'm 42, but for my mom, she was always on her knees with me. So for her, it's nothing. So, I mean, it's just a different place. But so I had their blessing, and then my daughter, I must say, she's very mature for her age. She's got a good understanding about what happens in the world, and she said to me, "Dad, you know what? I'm happy. I know you're very well trained and you very well you can carry yourself very well. So um just be safe and check in and I mean that was it. So yeah, no, I must say it. So just for the guys that know me from a corporate environment, for them is like, oh bro, what the hell? What's wrong with you? But for guys that knows that grew up with me and my brothers and things like that, for them they understand it for sure.
How many of your friends really understand what you're doing there? I mean, there's Russian propaganda, of course, saying that it's like a proxy war of like American puppets that was bombing Donbass for 8 years and stuff. Are there such cases of people who literally like, why are you fighting for that Nazi Jewish Russian speaking President Zelensky?
Yes, of course you get that. But then normally that's not close friends, so I don't mind losing them, to be honest. Um, but importantly is I always say to people that don't understand the war, go watch 21 Days in Mariupol and put yourself in those people's shoes. And then, then say to me what you want to say to me. Because I think if anybody was in that situation, um, or understand that, they've got a very good feeling for what's happening in the war. I mean, it's not that like I have to tell them. Last night there was bombing in Kharkiv again. Fucking randomly, the assholes decided they're shooting at a civilian building. I mean, and I've never had a problem. I always explain it like this. I have no problem if one person and another person as both are armed and in conflict. That's even Stevens. And I understand that. But as soon as you would start engaging with somebody that's a civilian, then me and you are gonna fucking have a problem. Because I mean that person is not armed for one, and two, they are innocent, and then we're not even starting to talk about kids, brother. Then you're gonna get me rallied up, and I can promise you it's not gonna be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you think if you were not in Ukraine right now, uh, what would you be doing back home?
Uh, Winter time, I would have locked myself in a cabin in the Carpathian Mountains, work from home, and not see anybody for a couple of months.
Oh my
That's
God,
what I would have been doing.
it sounds amazing. It sounds so cool. And like I miss this feeling. When I was a press officer in my brigade, I had to have my Facebook on all the time, and I never thought that one day I might like remove Facebook completely from my phone. Like, are you kidding me? Turns out it's possible. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
it is.
hopefully, yeah, it will be possible too. Tell me this: when you arrived to Ukraine, I mean, when you arrived to defend the country, what was your impression, and was it the way you expected it to be?
So I can tell you a very funny story. I arrived through Krakow, and the guy at the ZSU offices took my passport, and he saw Africa. So he did what most people ask, why are you not black? And then I'm like, no, there are some white people in Africa. Not all the people are dark skinned. I can promise you that. And then he looked at me and he says to me, a first time I hold this passport. It's the first time. Normally Amerikaanski, Canadian, Europa, but Africa. That was my first introduction into your country. Um, when I arrived and started with my contract within the ZSU, it's always difficult because you need to find your footing. You need to find your home. I always say to soldiers, guys speaking to me that want to come over, not necessarily to our unit, but what I will say is, listen, horses for courses. So there's places that you would be, but you need to find a home for yourself. If you find that home and you know you in that home, in that scenario where you can flourish, where you can operate, where you are the best asset for Ukraine, then you do it, you marry that brigade and you stay with them. You marry that battalion and you stay with them. And I mean, it took me quite a while, but I've been with the brigade, the battalion that I'm now with. I'm with for 8 months, and I mean, um, it will take a lot for me to move from them because um, it's home. I mean, and it's yes, there's always movement and there's shit. Always. It's people. Where there's three or four more people, there will always be shit. But it's the way that you can, like a brother, fight, but we don't go to bed in that fighting spirit. Um, we agree to disagree, and you've got your opinion, and I've got my opinion. But at the end of the day, as long as we fight for the common goal and we move to the common goal area and objectives that we've got as a group, I think it's very important. So yeah, and then obviously people always ask me, oh, but are the people happy that you're there, or are they sad that you're there? I had the babushka starting crying, saying thank you to me for coming to a country, but I had the babushka that was swearing the shit out of me, telling me what the hell are you doing in my country. I mean, people must understand it's not all saints in Ukraine, unfortunately. It's a mixture of feeling and it's a mixture of people and it's a mixture of opinion. And we must understand that people will be opinionated and they've got the right to their opinion.
Yeah, yeah. My God, I have flashbacks. Literally, I remember 2014. Uh, the war starts, occupation, annexation of Crimea, the Donbass, and everything, and people are like running around. Holy shit! What should we do? Help us! Somebody help! And then we start forming the battalions from police officers and people who fought police officers all together. It was so fun. And then you can see like all the streets, all the windows have Ukrainian flag, hanging outside and stuff. 2015, like next year, I returned from a deployment. Like the windows are empty, whatever, and our truck moves like we just crossed the city limit and we move into Kiev, and I see the dude. We pass through some offices and there's like those big windows, and the dude stands like in the window looking at our column, and he's like, I'm like, thank you so much. Have a good health, my brother. But it happens. What can you tell me about Ukrainian military? What's your impression?
I've got a lot of impressions, but I always say, especially to like Westerners that's been in a NATO military where there's a standard, you must understand something that, um, and the best to explain this is like, we've got safe houses, so it's people that live there that actually fled, and we tactically or technically acquired the house so that we can live and, I mean, fight. So obviously sometimes there's documentations, and I always have a laugh because like my Western brothers will say, "Oh shit, this guy was in Russia. He's in Russia." I'm like, dude, all of them were Russian officers. What the shit are you on about? Um, so people must understand that in 1991, this was still USSR, still Russian discipline, still Russian principles, still a Russian army. But I can tell you now, if I see the development and change in attitude that I've seen, I mean, 2022, a mate of mine came here 3 days after the war started from Europe, and they gave him an AK and they gave him one magazine full of 545 bullets and say, "Okay, go defend Kiev." And he's like, "What the?" Um, but I mean, from there to now, I mean, it's light years, it's decades of discipline and change that was forced down because it's the ZSU is in war. It's a war army. I always say it would have been when people criticize and always say, "Oh yeah, but you can do this better. Oh, you can do," and then I'm like, "Listen, dude. You are not in war in America. You can take 100,000 soldiers for 2 months to Ramstein and go do all the exercises you want. And guess what? Nobody's fucking shooting at you, are they? Okay? So when you are at Ramstein and under fire, then go and try and maneuver and test stuff, and you'll see what happens. You'll lose people. Okay? So people must understand that. It's being war. And if you look at what the leaps and bounds are that the ZSU has gone through, I mean, there's now an active spokesperson on uh, the presidential close inner circle, advocating for soldiers and their rights. I
Yeah.
mean, how amazing is that? The ground forces general that was changed, amazing changes that's busy happening, structural change, compensation change, health change. There's so much happening, and yes, this doesn't hit always the news because at the moment it's more important what the orange clown says, and he's aka South African arsehole that runs X and SpaceX and all the XXs. I mean, people are more worried about that shit than what the reform is of the ZSU. How the drone technology that is in Ukraine is second to none. There's none like this in the world. Just because we're not allowed to speak about it, it doesn't mean it's not there. And I mean, the military has moved and adapted. I mean, people forget in 2023 there was 8 months that we didn't get zero shells,
Yeah.
and we survived that. And people got innovative and kept lines without artillery ammunition. I mean, you know how difficult that is. That is like telling the guy, you shoot him in the leg, you take this hand, you bind him at the back, and in this hand you give him a breadstick and say, okay, fight this guy that's got a gun, a rocket, and a knife. I mean, and we managed it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that when Ukrainian army is defending against Russians, sometimes they do crazy shit. They are involved into operations that other armies would not risk to do, like taking positions that are protected by like several layers of defense and minefields without demining tracks, without close air support. And I just want to read you one commentary from a military expert, a civilian military expert in my on my channel. He says, because it's like related, he says, I've been reading that Ukraine soldiers have no comprehension of NATO tactics, but fall back on old Soviet techniques, and that a lot of high-tech weaponry is being misused and actually left behind, which goes against NATO policy of nothing left behind. Not like Americans didn't leave anything in Afghanistan, but whatever. The Ukraine commanders revert back to Soviet practices because many of them trained under the Russian military like 60 years ago. The commanders blame their losses on NATO training that doesn't match real-world warfare. I was like, I didn't know when to stop crying when I was reading this, but apparently this person knows a lot about NATO standard. I asked specifically, like, which NATO tactics exactly are we talking about that Ukrainian commanders are unable to comprehend?
So again, just a quick one to that wonderful couch soldier sitting somewhere drinking a beer. My battalion commander is actually an ex-ranger from the US, Ukrainian. So you might just not be on the right path there, brother, for sure.
That's true. When you arrived on a battlefield, how different was your experience in Ukraine from what you saw previously?
Okay, so my combat experience, Africa is guerrilla warfare. It's completely different. There's no static lines. It's more based on what we call QTA, quick target acquiring, um, reconnaissance, intelligence, things like that. Yes, it's a lot here the same. But yeah, it's the weirdest thing because um, you actually you actually know where they are and they know where you are, but it's not just as easy as okay, we can kill you. No, it doesn't work that way. So we outmaneuver and outsmart each other on a daily basis. And whoever ate their peanut butter that day is coming out at the top. So that is quite different. I actually did Legion training specifically for the reason to understand trench warfare because it's not something that was in my vocabulary, I mean, at all. Um, and it makes it, people normally ask me, okay, but now what is trench warfare like? It's like CQB, it's like a close quarter combat, and it's the whole time that. And you know where the trench are, but then there's the piece of land in between that is mined to shit, that has got barbed wire, that has got drones zooming over your head like crazy. So there's tactics that we use, the non-NATO tactics that they talk about, um, our own our own SOP, our own standard operating procedure for specific areas, specific scenarios, where we then operate in between all of that shit and still are effective in what we do.
Yeah, and basically that is part of NATO tactics. Develop your own SOP depending on the situation. We both know that you should not underestimate Russians, and then generally you should not underestimate your enemy. You should not overestimate your enemy and underestimate your enemy. But generally, why do Russians suck balls?
Because they love vodka too much.
Mm.
They love drinking. we normally smell them before we see them. No, I'm joking. No, but it happens. That actually happens. But um, you know what? They're not shit by no stretch of the imagination. I mean they're a very good adversary. I think it's just their losses has been so substantial that there's no contingency within their fighting force. If you go with the tactic that they are going with, where numbers is just a number. There's no contingency for people to develop. There's no understanding of what happens because you are pushing people willingly or unwillingly, and unwillingly most of the time, unfortunately. And if people don't understand what I mean is they will tell you, you need to attack this position. And if they do not attack the position, there's an officer behind them that will shoot and kill them if they don't go. So I think if there was a contingency and you could develop soldiers and you actually cared about your soldiers' lives, they would be way more formidable than they are. But they do make up for it in the amount of equipment that they've got. I mean, are they extremely proficient in the equipment that they use? I won't say so. Not to my knowledge. But then again, I'm speaking of a specific area. There's 1,200 kilometers of front line, which has got various units with various tactical skill and various development. So in our area, it's always difficult. They would have one skilled person with five non-skilled person or not so well skilled. And I mean, that's putting one guy that gives the one guy the responsibility to carry five on his back. It will never work. Um, so yeah, but then again, we never become complacent because if you become complacent on a battlefield, you're dead. And I always fight with my guys, and we make sure that we maintain our discipline because discipline is the basis of any good fighting force. If you don't have discipline, yeah, you can't fight.
One thing that we talked before the stream began, I'm not sure if you can talk about it, but generally regarding the artillery and regarding our artillery. So, because I receive a lot of reports from my guys on different directions around Liman, for example. They say that, first of all, we keep receiving a lot of artillery, 155 millimeter shells. And also Russian artillery, like not they like they stopped shelling us completely, but it's not like it was 1 year ago when we had one howitzer against 10 Russian howitzers, and today the situation changed. What can you tell us about this?
So I can tell you that if you take in consideration what it was in the beginning of, say, last year, 2024, um, I would say in our area that we operated then, it would have been a 9-to-1 type of ratio, so 9 shells for every one that we sent back. But now it's very close to a one-on-one situation. But what's also nice is people don't understand that there's a rhythm in your area. So I know in the morning at 5:45, the SPG at a specific area is going to shoot 5 shells in this directions. And then our mortar team is going to wake up halfway falling out of their beds and start giving them 5 shells back. And so there's a rhythm in the area that you operate in. And I mean, the more time you spend there, the more you learn it. And what's nice is with drone technology and indirect fire support, I mean, we literally hunt the artillery. Like, there's nothing better in this South African's heart than giving coordinates through, seeing there goes our Mavic, and then hearing, oh fuck, there comes the artillery, and you can hear the shells going over. And it's always the most beautiful sound is when you hit something metallic. It makes a specific sound. And then you see that black smoke coming up. I mean, there's nothing better in life than that.
Oh my God.
And I can tell you, it's we are on a one-to-one basis artillery-wise. I actually think they battling with artillery at the moment. That's my
Hmm.
honest opinion. In our area, again, I can only talk for very small area that that we are operating in. For the rest of the front line, I mean, there's areas where they can still throw fabs, and there's areas like Wolfchance, which is difficult, Lipsy, which is difficult, stable but difficult. Um, we're finally fucking starting to kick their asses in Procross, which I'm so fucking happy about. And we're holding that line and we are pushing again. So that's awesome. I mean, that's really awesome. I spoke to one of my brothers, and you can hear people forget that when you start moving forward and when you start dishing the shit to them, it brings up your morale and it makes you want to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember 2023, we were not far from Bakhmut, Spirna, that area. And during the day, they were not really active. During the night, they were shelling us very, very bad. And our artillery also worked pretty much. But the problem was that, there's just so much tree lines. And where do you hide? In the tree lines, like there's nowhere to hide. And it's like literally no matter where you shoot, just like point at the tree line and there's a chance that you will hit somebody. Fuck. We woke up because they started shelling us with cluster munitions. And it was bad. But I'm back. And I have another question. Have you had any, like holy shit moments? Holy shit, I can't believe that I made it out of that.
I'm not allowed to tell that because there's people in my life that I've promised that if I've got three holy shit moments, I'm gonna stop. And I don't want to stop now, but okay, I can tell you a funny holy shit moment, a literally holy shit moment. So we're in the trench, and I've got this thing that I don't like to go to the loo when when I'm on deployment or when I'm on mission. So I would eat specific foods to make sure that my stomach can hold for 4 or 5 days sometimes. You don't want to run to a bush, dig a hole, and there's FPVs in the area. Believe me, you will naturally let it go. You don't need to push at all. So this trench was nice. It had hard cover over us, and to the left we had like a little space where you now can go and do your business and nobody's bothering you. And so I took my plates off hard cover. So I took my plates off, took my helmet off, getting comfortable, got the wet wipes there, all is good. And as I go sit down, they start grading us. Okay, so people that know what's grading, it's explosion, and then there's a shitload of explosions for about 100-meter area around that explosion. And you know what? I was kneeling, and I thought to myself, you know what? If they take me out like that, fucking kudos to them, because I mean, you should not shoot a person that is having a crap. That's just against all policy. But I also thought to myself, it took me 4 days to get to this point, so now I'm going to finish it. So I took the grads and finished my business, and then decided, okay, well, luckily I'm still alive, so let's go back to the trench. So, yeah, that's pretty much one of the holy shit moments. The other holy shit moment, what was amazing to me once was the fucking Peter Russ is in the tree line in front of us, and I don't know what strings was pulled, and I don't want to say there was strings pulled, but for the first time I saw an F-16 drop cluster ammunition,
Mm.
literally 300 meters in front of us. And I can tell you, um, brother, I almost had a semi. That's how awesome it was. Because it's not something that ever happens in this front line, especially not some South African idiot fighting somewhere. I mean, we don't have the pool to get that done, but that specific day, on that specific moment, it happened. And I can tell you, brother, I had a semi. That's how awesome it was. Because it's not something that ever happens in this front line, especially not some South African idiot fighting somewhere. I mean, we don't have the pool to get that done, but that specific day, on that specific moment, it happened. And I must say that was a holy shit moment for the Russians because I can tell you they got fucked without any doubt. And
Oh my
I must say,
God.
it was like amazing to experience.
I can just imagine. You reminded me of my like not holy shit, but related moments. One was when I was taking a dump at our position, and it was 2018, I think, or 17, at a Svetlodarsk College, and they start hitting us with SPG. Um,
Oh,
and
that's a shit sound. Oh, that thing is a shit sound.
oh yeah,
That whistle coming.
and I just keep sitting there, and I realize that actually it sucks. Like if they hit you, and then your comrades find you like full of covered in crap and flies. That is not a heroic death.
No, for sure.
And then there was another moment when we went to work against the fox on the other side. We were on one side of the water reservoir. In the Svetlodarsk, it's already occupied by Pidorasi. But we took 5 machine guns, I think, and started 5 machine guns, and one we took from the BTR. It was like spray gun, it wasn't like just shoot in that direction. And we had Dashka, 2 Dashkas. So all this like starts working at the Russians at that side, and we shoot at them like until we run out of ammo, and then the guys are like, okay, let's move back. So
Finish
they
them.
withdraw, and I realized that I gotta go, because otherwise I will have to like do it on foot. And I'm telling the guys, okay, go without me, and I am the platoon sergeant. So they're like, you sure? I'm like, yeah. So they go without me, and at that position where we worked against Russians, there was like a small toilet, makeshift toilet, and of course, because I'm wearing like the like all the armor, I'm wearing my armored vest. Underneath armored vest, I have this tactical system with all the shit hanging around me, and I start like undoing all that stuff. And I don't even see that my straps hang down into that pit, and like, fuck that, whatever. And then I'm sitting like and looking around, and I realize that actually it's kind of autumn, and this tree line that we were shooting from, it literally doesn't exist anymore. And there is this thing called atvetka, the backfire, that may come like any moment. So that was like second, but like nothing happened. Generally, it's like when you start imagining things that don't happen in
Imagine
real
the
life.
things.
Yeah, that sometimes can play bad tricks with you. Uh, Tell me this: what is your unit like? What kind of people do you fight alongside? What can you tell us about them?
Most amazing. No, our unit consists of international and Ukrainian mix. Um, but with the prerequisites that in our company specifically, you need to speak English fluently to be able to communicate with us and to communicate with the team. Um, we consist of South African, Canadian, Italian, Argentinian, Ukrainian, um, Danish, Swedish, German, mix of a lot of people, a lot of nationalities, and it's always interesting. It's always when a new guy come in, obviously it's always difficult because there's a very strong bond between the people that's been here for a long time and that's formed that bond. But then it's always nice because once they started fighting with you, they automatically the group will respect you. I mean, some of our officers that's gone in with us to get an understanding of what's happening and how we operate and how our SOPs work and things like that. Um, they always come back and say, "Holy crap, God, you guys don't speak much, but everything works," and that's purely just repetition training. And our unit is a attack unit at heart, so we like to go make shit. It's our favorite thing to do. But we do defense work, we do recovery, we do pretty much all the work that needs to be done. I always have a laugh, and then I say, we like the red-headed stepchildren of the battalion. Whatever they need us to do, we do. So, yeah. And sometimes they will even prostitute us out to one of our sister battalions just to go and help them sort out this shit. So, but it's good. It's always good to work, and it's always nice to help out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When you have opportunity to help other guys, because generally it's, you know, until the moment you start working together, and it's in the Ukrainian army, it was always like that until the moment when you start working together with other units within the battalion tactical group, for example, or something like that. Usually, it's like they're so envious or jealous, you know, like you have better equipment, or like you have 777s, you know, and stuff like that. And then as soon as you start helping them, you make patches, you know, like combining patches of two brigades, and you will never take them off. It's generally it's so cool.
Yeah, I
Um,
must say, sorry, our second company is a purely defense Ukrainian company. And in the beginning, it was always difficult, I must say. They were like, Amerikansky, and you can hear they talking shit about us. And there was a couple of times, when we started getting seriously speaking to each other. And I'm fluent in Ukrainian in 3 words, and that's all 3 swear words. But I must say that once you start, when the shit hits the fan and you go in and they can see that you know what you're doing, they earn a very great respect for you, and you earn a very great respect for them. I mean, some of these guys are 55, 56, and they're sitting in the front line with their AK and their plate carrier and their helmet, and they're fighting for this country. I mean, I've got the greatest respect for those type of people. I mean, um, yeah, I've got the greatest respect for them. And then it's not always easy going to like a city like Kiev or Kharkiv or Lviv, and you see guys in their 30s driving the BMW with their white shoes and having a ball of a time, and you think, you piece of shit. There's a guy 55 years old that's fucking doing your job. Man up, grow some balls, and fucking come to the front line, dude.
yeah. Uh, what is that day to day like when you're not fighting? How do you pass your time?
We don't pass time, we train. So this morning at 6 we started physical training. Then at 8:30 we went to a polygon. We shot a shitload of rounds. Did a lot of exercise. We will normally come back around about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoons. Weapon inspection at 6. We're disciplined. We keep a tight ship. And in between, the guys will have time to obviously speak to their families. And then yeah, we pretty much in radio contact with our front line, so we know when the guys check in. I mean, it's my job is pretty much either I'm on drone feeds or I'm on a radio 24/7 to make sure that the teams are ready and teams are right. If I'm not in the front, I always have a laugh. The guys always say to me, "Why do you love it to go to the line so much?" I said, "Because there's no cell phones, no fucking bodies irritating or promise or talking to me, or I don't have to do shit. All I need to do is focus on what's happening in front of me, the now. And when I'm off, I trust my brother enough, even if they're shelling, to go sleep for 6 hours, take a book, read, actually spend time with my thoughts, my thinking, my life. I mean, what better job do you want than that? I mean, yes, it's shit. There's some artillery flying around and they try to kill you on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, in that chaos, you find quiet time. Um, we're so hooked to devices and social media, and we need to do this and we need to do that. And yes, awesome for the people that loves that, but I'm not one of those. I love nature. I love a calmness. I love, if I could switch off a phone and never speak to only have the people that I really care about close to me, I mean, I will disappear for years, for sure.
I know how it feels. When you go to a position and you see guys, and guys generally are in like good mood and stuff, and they don't care about like Elon Musk. Who the hell is that? Like, what the hell is going on? I'm talking with the guys in the Telegram, and they go like, "Please, can all those like military experts, discussing like what Trump said and what Musk said, can they just go and serve instead of me, please?" Um, when I was on deployment, the biggest, like the most frequent question was, "Dude, what's wrong with your face? Something happened, Because everybody were like laughing and in good mood and stuff. I was always because this is my job and I have to always check updates and news. I have to know what's going on. And I couldn't understand why people always ask me like, "Dude, what's wrong with your face? What happened? Do you have problems? Maybe like there's some." Just it's unbearable if you're sitting there and working there, and you should also like read all that shit. That's why whenever I had chance to go with my guys and make some kind of footage from the positions, that was just relief, even
Uh,
though it wasn't it wasn't funny. Um, I wonder because you're there since 2003. Have you picked up any Ukrainian or maybe like cool local habits since being there?
yeah, I swear, like a typical soldier. That's one habit that's very bad. And in civilization, I need to check it because it flows out of my mouth. That word bliat, it flows. It flows out of your mouth. And it's for an English speaker, remember, it's a foreign language. I'm not swearing. I didn't say the F word. I said a word that they taught me in a foreign language. So it's not on me. But it flows. And the problem is when you're in civilization, then I would say something would happen. I'm like, "Sukabliat," and then everybody's like, "You said that word." So that's one of the bad Ukrainian, uh, I would say, ZSU experiences or things that I've picked up, which I must learn off. It's that, and I always laugh because all the Ukrainians always say to me, if they see me, it's like, "Mamba, davai, davai," because I'm always in a hurry and I'm always chasing people. So, um, because I'm not working on Ukrainian time, it's just impossible for me. I was forced that my dad taught me if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. So I still got that mentality, and it's the most difficult thing to sometimes put in my soldiers' heads. But I mean, we're getting there. We're getting there, and they do understand that it's important to me. And even some of our officers are catching up to it, so it's good. Other Ukrainian thing that I've always been drinking tea, but I've always you guys love a lot of tea though. I mean, I've converted a couple of Ukrainians to coffee now, and they love coffee and they drink a lot of coffee. Um, the one thing that you guys taught me though is to not drink milk anymore
Hmm.
in your tea. Remember, okay, so for the international people, especially like UK, which tea they drink cream or milk in their tea.
Yeah.
Please do not ask a Ukrainian patron to put milk in your tea. They would look at you like you're swearing at them and they don't understand. And they will ask you 7 times, oh, you want to put milk in this tea? Sorry? So that's the one thing I don't do anymore. I used to drink tea with milk and now I actually don't like it anymore. I like tea without milk.
Do you drink tea with sugar?
Yeah, if it's hold on. So Jana from Project Constantine brought me rooibos tea, which is specifically a South African thing, and it's a tea it's like when I smell that, like if I open a bottle of Merlot wine when I'm off, we do not drink at the front at all. So whenever I was in Kiev recently and I could open a bottle of South African Merlot, Bosendal, and you know what? When I open that bottle and I smell it, it smells like home. So
Mm.
rooibos tea for me is home. When I smell that tea, it reminds me of my grandma when I was a small child making me tea at home. And yes, in rooibos tea, I do drink half a spoon of honey, but I don't drink sugar. But in normal black tea, like you get it here, I had put a full spoon of sugar in it.
That's interesting. I don't like. I usually, like this jar with sugar. What I do, I just take my tea, I just spill it into the jar and like mix it.
No, but sweet tea is nice. It is nice, especially on position where sugar gives you energy. I mean, and you need energy because it's energy. So yeah, you can't always bite on a snicker. You will start rolling to your position. So, I mean, I like coffee and I do like sugar in my coffee. So, yeah, we live on sugar.
One notice to the dear viewers in the chat, guys. I will ask your questions a bit later. We still have like 10, maybe max, to ask. How do Ukrainians react when they find out that you're a person from a different country fighting for them?
Okay, when I say Africa, the first thing again is they ask me why I'm not black. And then they would have this look and I will say, Africa? And then they will say, why are you not black? So that's the first thing. And then after I've now explained to them and then they you know what? I've had mixed responses with that. I've had people that's very appreciative. Like I mean I had people crying in front of me and oh man, I would get that babushka hug. I don't mind. You know, we hug in South Africa. We huggers. Um, and say to her, don't to worry, ma'am. Don't worry. It's a privilege for me to be here. Um, but I mean, then you also get people that's like, yeah, they like, just go back to your country. What are you doing here? You know, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's a mixed feeling. But I mean, predominantly, you know what? Soldiers wise, they're always like closed off against you until they see you and learn. And I mean, I've got one soldier, he's 55, 56. I mean, when that guy sees or hear my voice, brother, the way that he shouts to me and embrace me, it's like he's like a brother to me. I mean, he's even invited me to his house to go and meet his family, and I mean that's stunning. It's amazing from Ukrainians from time to time.
yeah. We like people from other countries because generally, like Ukrainians used to travel abroad. Of course, we didn't travel as far as South Africa. Usually, that is too far.
That's a
That's why
bit
we
far.
don't. Yeah, we don't know much about South Africans for this reason. But generally, like Poland, whatever, Italy, France, Portugal, maybe like the farthest, and. And we like people from other countries because we want to learn. We want to know what you are. We want to know your culture, what kind of tea you like, what kind of coffee you like. Do you eat like borscht, which we will talk about a bit
Okay.
later. Um, so, how do you think? Let's talk about more philosophical perspective. Do you think people from peaceful countries can really understand what war is?
This will for sure not. You must remember that when we speak about war and not an insurgency, people get confused about those two words a lot. So they would always say, "Oh, especially my good American friends that fights with me or from the UK, or they would say to me, "Oh, I was in the war in Iraq," and I'm like, "Dude, that was an insurgency. That's not a war." No, no. I said, "Mate, listen to me. Insurgency. Go read go read it in the dictionary. What insurgency means and what war means. War means one army versus another army. Okay, so in Afghanistan and Iraq, was that an army? Would you say that's an army? Oh, no, 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 no. Then it's an insurgency. So don't talk shit to me. Last time this happened was the Vietnamese War. Country, Vietnam against America. Brother, and that was in the 60s. So then coming back to your question, how do they understand it? No, they don't, because they've never been in a war where one military might fights against another military might since the 1960s. So they don't understand it. I mean, the devastation, the terrorism that shit country does to the people of Ukraine. I mean, children living in fear, having to go to a school in a sub basement under concrete in the winter when it's minus 50. Do they know it? No, they don't know it because it doesn't make the news. Again, we would rather speak about nilly jilly shit than the reality of this war. Because you know what? It's easier to listen to nonsense than it is to see the hard facts for yourself. It's easier for you to not get involved and say, "Oh, but it's their war." Somebody asked me in an interview recently, and you know what? That really hit it home. He asked me if you could say anything to the Western leaders of all the countries, what would you say? And I said this: what will you, as a Western leader, say to your grandchildren in 20 years from now? If you can say, I made a difference, I made a change, I fought, I supported a generation to break free from a Soviet Russian communist fucking mentality, brother, that you could say with pride. But unfortunately, most of the Western politicians would have to bow their head in shame and say, I was the reason why there's a generation lost of a country, a generation of culture, diversity, a generation of democracy. How the fuck do you live with yourself?
I agree. But again, if you're a professional politician, I don't really
No,
think that
luckily
you
not.
think about those things at all. Uh,
Now you're thinking of your next paycheck and how you're gonna make more money.
Generally, yeah. Generally, yeah. The more I learned about politicians back in my days, even before the war, the more I understand that it's like I just don't want to have nothing in common with them at all. But on the other hand, you have to elect them, you have to make proper
No.
choices. And in the chat, people always say this thing that they always have to choose between they have to choose the lesser evil. Why is it like that? I've No freaking idea. Um,
No, there's evil and there's not evil. There's not a lesser of evils. You're either fucking evil or you're not. But it's always been, you know what? That's the generational problem. If you go back, and maybe I'm too old, I'm an old guy. I'm not young. But my dad didn't say, "Oh, you might have been naughty or you might have not been naughty." No, my dad gave me a spanking and said to me, "Brother, you were wrong, and I will teach you the right way." There's no such thing as, "Oh, okay, so I stole my dad's car and I wrote it off, killing a person." Oh, you know what? Stealing my dad's car is the lesser of evils.
yeah,
That's bullshit, brother. Sorry. It's just the easy way to to not take responsibility, to not become part of something. It's always easy. That's the easy way out. That's the easy way. The lesser of two evils. If you've got a country that wants to nuke and kill and make a country to nothing, how can you say it's something like the lesser of two evils? Or oh, okay, we'll support them, but we'll support them to just to help them enough because it's the lesser of two evils. No, you either support something or you don't, or you either make a decision or you don't.
yeah, I agree. How do you think? What is something about this war that people from outside the country just don't understand completely? For example, people like I don't know, like Elon Musk or like Joe Rogan.
Let's not speak about Elon Musk because you know what? I think, and he's an ex-South African, and that's saying a lot. I just think he's been too long in America. He's lost his mind. Um, no offense against Americans. I've got American brothers. I love them to bits. It's just your media plays a lot in your minds. So to be honest with you, I would love a guy like Elon Musk, yeah, if he had the balls. Come spend one day with me in the front line. One day. That's it. You'll get a new perspective in life. You'll come out 7 times stronger human than you've been. And I would graciously say, okay, brother, you've got kahunas. I respect you. I mean, or just come and well, if he doesn't have that, at least come to Kharkiv and sleep in the top floor of a 10-story building for a week. And then I will say, okay, now you'll understand how a Shaheed petrol engine sounds when it's fucking flying at 100 meters above your head. Or when there's an incoming ICBM, that fucking swooshing sound that it makes just before it impacts. And you can hear it come. I mean, come and experience that thing. Oh, you know what? Come to Kiev. When an apartment building was hit, in the middle of a fucking suburban area, and you know what? Come stand there and just see the people that's coming out of there. All the military targets that they've hit. Yeah? Come and see how that child is buried under 10 feet of rubble. And you explain to a mother, oh, I'm making the decisions, but I'm making shit decisions. Come and see it for yourself. If that doesn't change you, brother, nothing will change you in life. For sure not.
Absolutely. The UATV office. Today I talked to the editor, like now after the OPSEC is gone, uh, the studio doesn't exist anymore, literally. So we have to move to it like in another location and build everything. But generally, my dear friends, UATV is alive. Its studio is no more, unfortunately. But we still have internet. And one thing that uh, I would like to conclude from what you said is generally, if you want to learn more about Ukraine, then either come to Ukraine and see yourself, or generally start learning about Ukraine. Because when I hear people like the dude whose name will not be mentioned again, uh, it's literally, I think, Dunning-Kruger's theory was absolutely correct, because the less you know, the more you think you know. And like, let's learn about Ukraine. What does like Wikipedia say, for example? And I don't think that they even read Wikipedia. They just go on Russia Today, and they find all the information they need over there, because it's freaking insane. Sometimes when you hear those experts talking about Ukraine, they go just, well, you must accept the fact that Ukraine was always like Russia's sphere of
Oh,
influence. Russia was born actually from Kiev Kingdom back in the days.
there's
And
nothing
when
more that makes me more angry than that. You don't understand. If somebody says, "Oh yeah, but Ukraine is Russia, it was Russia," then I always say, "Listen, idiot, go and learn how long this war's been going on. It's way before you think. Way before you think. Go learn about this war, and then come back to me and say that again. Then at least I won't smack you. Being honest with you."
Yeah, before learning, I think this person should just go to his or her history teacher and apologize big time.
Well, they
For,
should actually ask their parents to go get their money back because obviously fuck school didn't help them.
yeah. Um, how do you think, if you could go back in time to the day before you joined the armed forces of Ukraine, would you still make the same choice?
100% yes. 100% yes. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy with you know what, you go through difficult times in life and difficult times in the Ukrainian army, but that builds character and that forms you as a person. And I mean, you are a stronger person today for all the failures you had of yesterday. So, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. Because it taught me a lot about people. It taught me a lot about the culture. It taught me a lot about the army and the structure of the army and how things operate.
I would like to ask you a question that I personally hate answering. But because I'm always asked this question, I would like to ask you as well. What do you think life after the war look like for you? And do you think that you will go back to the normal life as you know it, or as you have it in your imagination? Um, Also, do you plan to return, or do you want to stay in Ukraine as a Ukrainian citizen?
So I'm busy with my Ukrainian citizenship. I'm not running nowhere. I'll be in Ukraine after the war. Um, I would see myself two things. If I have to stay busy, I'll probably be a instructor for the military or private sector for that matter. But I will definitely have a place in the mountains with some land because I'm a farmer at heart, actually. Farming is in our blood. And yeah, hopefully a family. I mean, that would be nice. Um, But then again, yeah, people, I always say this, it's in his hands, and I mean God's hands in that perspective. So, you know what will be, and you walk a path, and that's my idyllic where I would want to be. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see where we end up.
Yeah. Returning to your answer when you were talking about the family, and generally when you're joining a unit in Ukraine, you gotta have home. And this reminded me of my friend, actually two of my friends. One of my friend was captured in 2014 near Ilovaisk by Russians. It was literally first real case when Russians brought several battalion tactical groups of regular armed forces of Pederast Federation, and they literally eliminated a lot of guys in the so-called green corridor, because you don't trust Russians. Their words not worth anything,
Yeah.
and they took several hundred prisoners, and my friend was one of them. Unfortunately, he died several years ago, but before the full-scale invasion. But when I talked to him, he spent more than 100 days in the Russian captivity, and he said one thing that kept me, sane every single day was a reminder that I have home and I have family. And one very, very important thing for every soldier is to always remember that you have this, like peaceful harbor that you can always return to. And this thing is something that always keeps you sane, keeps you afloat.
Yeah.
And my other friend Bogdan, he was captured on first days of the invasion. I think in the evening of the first day of the invasion, I was going on a truck. We were withdrawing from Hostomel after that battle in the evening, and we were withdrawing. Everybody's sharing their impressions and stuff. And I receive notification from him. He says, "We are surrounded. I'm not sure what happens next." And I'm like, "Got it, bro. Be safe. I'm deleting all your data from my phone, just
Yeah.
in case."
Yeah.
Because when my first friend in 2014 got captured, they started checking his background. He was a sniper, but he pretended that he was a driver. So they didn't beat him up really bad. If he was a sniper, there would be probability that he would die. But what first thing we did when I learned that he got captured, I called his wife and I'm like, "Can you access his Facebook?" Because he has photos and everything. She's like,
Yeah.
"I can try." And she deleted his Facebook, and it was the best thing we could do, because Russians then scanned all of his data. Bogdan, my friend who was captured on the first day at Chernobyl power plant. They were protecting the Chernobyl power plant. He was captured, and basically there's no way they will not find out that he was in reconnaissance. So he was beaten up really bad, and he was tortured so bad. He returned. He's taller than me, but when he returned after 70 something days, he looked and he weighed probably less than me back then, because they were torturing them with starvation and shit. He told me crazy story that he had to fight a prison dog, the guard dog, and take its food to eat. Yeah, and he won, of course, because I know this guy. And it's crazy. But he also told me that one thing that kept him sane was, first of all, they talked with other guys in the prison, and they were sharing their knowledge. One guy was like a carpenter, another guy was like a construction builder. So they literally shared all they knew. But the biggest thing that kept him sane was that he had a dream of seeing his son one more time and walking with him, holding his hand. And he said that that is something that kept him sane and he said, I will never forget it. And when he met his son, uh, like it was just too emotional to to
Yeah,
express.
I can imagine.
Uh, what is one thing that you wish more people around the world knew about the foreign volunteers like you fighting for the freedom of Ukraine?
Uh, that it's an honor to be part of the ZSU. It's an honor for us and a privilege for us to be able to make a difference. It's not a right. It's not a. um, I always say to my boys whenever we move or we in public or anything, I said, you must remember you're a foreigner in somebody else's country. Act like that because you would want them to treat you like you would treat them in your country. Um, so yeah, I think that for sure that it's an honor and a privilege to help Ukraine.
It's an honor to be your friend, actually.
No, I'm
Seriously.
just normal. Normal.
Um, okay, next will be the food questions, but first,
Okay.
before asking those questions, because this is the channel where you can talk about food. Tell us if your unit needs something specific and if we can support you.
Okay. So at the moment we're busy with the drone project for the Mavic 3Ts Pros. This is not drop drones. It's not. It's only used for reconnaissance. And yes, it is help us with artillery correction as well. But I can tell you that these drones are life saving for us because we take reconnaissance footage when we have to do recovery. Sometimes we take reconnaissance footage from this if we have to move operationally to a specific area. I mean, they really good because of the thermal imaging. We can fly them in very cold weather. We can fly. We actually fly them thermal during the day. And we can actually see the enemy, which helps us tremendous with planning, rotation. Literally, these drones saves lives. There's no shadow of a doubt about that. So that's the project that we're busy with. Other than that, I mean, we are Cars for Ukraine are busy for vehicle for us that should reach us within the next couple of weeks. Also together with Dach from NAFO 69. That's But again, I don't want to start speaking about vehicles because that's a whole monster by itself. Ukraine is abrasive like hell when it comes to vehicles. Um, so yeah, they are helping us. But and then we've got Project Constantine that's also helping us a lot, and Greg Terry Experience. I mean, Greg and Xenia has physically been here with me. They're helping us with a lot of technical equipment that I can't discuss, but which they know what they're busy with. Project Constantine is helping us with other technical equipment. So we're getting a lot of love from the international community, and I'm just honored and grateful that people help us um, uh, with some of the consumable things that we use. I mean, drones are consumables because they do get shot down or they do get damaged with electronic warfare. So yeah, that's why we're busy fundraising for them. Uh, Other than that, yeah, we're good. Otherwise, we good with all the help from those guys and you guys. I mean, you guys makes the difference.
Thank you so much for this information. And, dear friends, you can find the link if you want to support Viper's unit. You can find the link in the description. It's a blonde bombshell on coffee. It's in the description to this video, and also Ali is posting it in the chat. So, dear friends, if you like to support the unit, please do this. We will appreciate it.
Just a
And
quick one. Just a
Yeah.
quick one. Reason why it's blonde bombsheller. Yeah, she's pretty much my right hand, left hand, foots, everything. I mean, thank you, blonde, for all that you do. I mean, guys, I do actually actively fight still, so I'm not a personality in YouTube. I know you guys see me from time to time, but I mean, I'm actively in the front line. I mean, she runs my whole book, that book me for shows. She does our fundraising. She does pretty much everything for me. And thank you very much for all the hard work she puts in.
Yeah, absolutely. She does amazing job running uh, Discord, running all sorts
Yeah.
of platforms, and it takes a lot of time and efforts actually, especially if it's done by a single person. That is a big and difficult work. Okay, let's talk about food because food is amazing. Everybody loves food. Tell me your experience with borscht.
Okay, so I don't like borscht because did you ever go to Central City for officers school?
Yeah.
Okay, well, most guys has been there. So we were doing a rock march in the middle of summer at 34 degrees, I think it was. And so we people that don't know what a rock march is you throw rocks and everything in your backpack. So you've got about 40 kilos on your backpack, and then you've got your plate carrier, your helmet, full battle belt, everything on with your rifle, and then we march for 12 kilometers. So we were coming all the way to the shooting ranges. We had our exercise, and it was roughly about 2 o'clock. And here comes our little lady with our food truck, driving with our transit van, stops there, opens the doors, and she has warm borscht. Okay, at 34, I mean, you don't want. She could have given me a cold banana, brother. I would have been happy as long as it was cold. And from there on, I'm like, no, borscht is not for me. But the problem was, it wasn't only one day; it was for 4 weeks every day. So, so from there, I'm cured for borscht. I will probably eat it, but it's not really my favorite, to be honest.
I feel ya, bro. I gotta confess that I'm not a big fan of borscht either. I'm a Ukrainian, of course, but it just so happened. But what was generally the best food that you tried in Ukraine so far?
So your Georgia can't make steak, like at all. They don't know how to slaughter a cow. They chop meat with an axe still, like very primitive. And you can taste it in the meat. So I'm from South Africa. I love good meat. My favorite thing to eat here in Ukraine is your matured steaks, like ribeye or sirloin or rump steak. You guys really do have some good meat. Uh, yeah, I won't say I've like investigated your meat before I came, but it was also a differentiating factor. Look, if you didn't have good steak, I wouldn't have come to the country, to be honest. So yeah, I enjoy your steak a lot. And then I love like Georgian cuisine a lot. So the Georgians just got Kinkali, which I love. They've got Kachapuri. I love Kachapuri. It's a very tasty thing to eat. And then, but then again, yeah, you guys, a good shawarma, I enjoy it. I mean, we've got a little guy that makes shawarmas for us on charcoal here, the closest town to where we are. And he also does some barbecue pork pieces, and oh man, it's easy. I'm not a chocolate guy. I'm not. You can just give me if you feed me meat. I mean, yeah, I'll go. I'm happy.
Oh yeah. Shawarma is like Ukrainian way to relax. Actually, it's especially for soldiers when you go to a city, for example, pick your mail at Nova Posta or whatever. That is
Yeah.
definitely you gotta go to shawarma 100%. If you didn't go to shawarma, it's like I don't know.
And hold on, you've got that little breads with the filling of mincemeat in it. What do you call that?
Oh my God, we call them пиріжки. It's basically like
Oh,
little breads,
that's
like little buns, but they're not sweet. And sometimes they're packed with either meat or cabbage or potato or whatever. But meat is my favorite personally.
brother,
Like,
those rock. That's good Ukrainian food. I love
yeah.
eating those.
Also, in Ukraine, you probably know, we have this widespread, very popular Crimean Tatar cuisine. And Crimean Tatars make good samsa, which is basically like pyrishki, like those things that you were talking about. But the meat inside, before it goes into the dough, they fry it on fire and it tastes like smoke, like, like, oh my
Oh,
God, that is so good. 2015, we were patrolling the city of Kurakhove, and we found this place where they were selling samsa, which it cost something like 20 hryvnias. It was insane, but it was just so good. And you're like walking around with some sa and the energy drink. And by the way, speaking of energy drinks, we have a question from our viewer. Oh my God, where was that? Guys, unfortunately, I've lost it. But what is your favorite? Here, Marino 4691. What is his favorite energy drink that he can get in Ukraine? Is it Rivo? Which I think it's not. Pitbull, of course. Of course, it's
come on, we're
Pitbull.
soldiers. We don't drink Red Bull. We do drink from time to time, but mostly we don't have always access to that. So we Pitbull is like you can buy a block, 1 liter of energy drinks, 12 of them. I mean, what better do you want? So we drink those a lot.
Um, so, another thing. Did you learn how to cook some of the traditional Ukrainian food?
No, no.
Like
I don't
making vareniki?
nah. Listen, I am a cook. I like cooking, but why would I cook Ukrainian food that I can eat and buy here that is well prepared when I can cook South African food which I can't buy here and can't get? So when I can normally when I buy ingredients and things like that, it would be to cook South African type style food because I can't buy it here. There's no South African restaurants here, so yeah.
Okay, speaking of South Africa, imagine that all our chat, okay, all our chat, that all the people that are watching us right now, which is a half thousand people, imagine that we all decided to go to South Africa and see the places that are dear to you. What sort of food would you recommend to try on the first place?
Oh, guys, South Africans cook nice. So I would say one of the South African traditional dishes you have to have is a dish called bobotie. Okay, so go research bobotie. That's one of it's a meat dish, but it's a very South African dish to eat. The other dish that I love, which is a dessert, is milk tart, which is also something very unique to South Africa. The other thing that we do is tribe. We love to make tribe. It's very traditional with pap, which is also something you guys wouldn't understand. So And then we've got good Indian influence in our country because we are a very diverse cultural country. So we do like curries. There's good bunny chow that you can get. Bunny chow is like an Indian curry in a half loaf of bread. It's delicious to eat. I mean, there's a lot of influences in South African cuisine, but if I had to like take you to and treat you to South African meal, it will probably be a braai, what you guys call barbecue. I
Hmm.
will invite you to a braai. We will have some lamb chops, lamb ribs, steak, a lot of meat. We will make. Sorry, guys, my guys are rotating, so I'm just like greeting while they're rotating. I will make. I will probably make us some like we've got a potbrood, which is in a pot, a bread that we bake in the fire in the pot with some homemade butter, farm butter. We will have definitely bobotie. We'll have some braai sandwiches that we do, which is quite unique to South Africa as well, with chutney. Uh, yeah, so you'll eat, and we'll have some good wine. Uh, Maybe some good South African beers. We've got some good South African beer. And I promise you, you will at 12 o'clock at night, you will still be eating and still be drinking for sure.
Sounds like heaven to me, bro. Babuati is a South African dish consisting of spiced minced meat
Yeah.
baked with an egg-based topping. And judging from the photos, I feel like literally like making it maybe even tonight because I feel freaking hungry already. And returning to the questions from our viewers, um, someone special asks, Viper, do you have a YouTube channel?
No. There's a channel, Viper underscore UA, but that's not a YouTube channel. So please don't go there. There's no videos, there's no nothing. Um, I actually withdrew and actually cleaned my complete social media before I came to Ukraine. So I'm non-existent in social media.
Probably wise thing to do. Question from Baldrick Simpson. Losing people is hard. I cannot imagine how hard it is. War takes your friends, mates, colleagues in the blink of an eye. I have trouble losing friends at the rate of 1 to a year, which I don't think it like how much it matters if you lose somebody that was really really dear to you, or you lose 10 people from your unit. There's always emptiness after this. And
Yeah, it's you know what? How do we deal with those losses? I mean, we all accept the responsibility and the risk by being here. Um, and the other thing is, yeah, again, if you do what you love doing, I mean, and die doing it, there's not really to be, there's not, a life, that life needs to be celebrated. I always think of, remember, they're not here. So for them, it doesn't matter. For us, it's difficult because they leave us behind. And we need to work through those emotions. Yes, for sure. And you miss that person a lot. Of course you do. So you never get numb to that. But there's a way of thinking about it and actually working through that pain, trauma. At the end. So it makes you, I don't want to say resistant because then people say, oh yeah, but you get close to people, but you celebrate their life and what they were worth and what they were believing in when they fought and when they died. I mean, and then there's awesome guys that leaves a legacy that will forever be continued. through either NGOs or through um, funds that they've created. I mean, there's a lot of good stories.
Yeah, I had crazy moment. I think last year when all of a sudden I received message on the Telegram that Sashko, one of my friends, made an account on Telegram, and Sashko died in 2017. And in Ukraine, I'm not sure how it is in other countries. In Ukraine, if you don't use your SIM card for a while, I think like maybe 3 years max. Then they reset it and they resell it. So somebody else can literally buy a SIM card with your number. And if it was your number years ago, this person can basically access your data and stuff like that. But it was this moment when the guy that you knew, that you served with, and who died in 2017, and you received message from him. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It's like uh, because I had to talk a lot with, for example, relatives of our fallen comrades. Generally, you try to just switch off your emotions because you cannot do your job properly. So you have to just switch off and stay cold-minded and emotionless as much as possible. But this moment, it was kind of sketchy, you know. Caitlin T says, Viper, you are absolute legend. Thank you for all your work in Ukraine.
Definitely not a legend. Just normal soldier guys. We normal people like anybody else. There's no special, no nothing. We just normal. Normal.
Um, Nine Moon Planet says, just trying to imagine dealing with drones amidst chaos is something I can't do. Um, One thing, by the way, that makes this war so freaking different from what it was between 2014 and 2022 was that when you saw a drone, you could generally like try to shoot it down or just don't do anything, nothing will happen. And nowadays, when you hear drones, that means that the fuck who sits on the other side, he can see you and he's targeting you personally.
Yeah.
And it's sketchy.
Yeah, but you know what? I must say, look, I think it's a very unhonorable way of killing somebody, to be honest with you. Really. That's my opinion, and it's my opinion. Look, our drone guys do a lot for us. They work a lot for us. They're awesome, amazing. It's just my personal opinion. But generally, yeah, guys, you must also remember there's a rhythm to drones. You know that if a drone comes from that specific area, then oh fuck, it's not ours. If a
Yeah.
drone comes from that area, oh, give them hell, boys, it's ours. So it's not like drones magically appear and disappear. They are very loud. Look, we are fucked the day that they bring out a drone that makes no sound, to be honest with you. Well, we'll still see them where they come from, but I mean, that's going to be difficult. But as long as they make a sound, I mean, we can still manage it, for sure.
Um, One of my friends, Roman Trochimets, you may saw him on a YouTube sometimes, Roman the Break, sniper from the 3rd Assault Brigade.
I
He
actually met him,
said,
yeah.
yeah, you know him. So he said the other day that he met the guys, the drone operators that he knew, and he was like, "So, what's the news?" And one of the guys says, like, "I eliminated 40 Russians," or like something like that. He was like, "What?" You know, back in the days when snipers
Oof.
were like this, like this power that literally, if sniper works, the fox just sit in their trenches and they don't do anything because they were afraid, of course.
Yeah.
And being a sniper, you would rarely, I don't know, think of like eliminating like 2 3 men. If you're like, you're sitting there whole day looking for your target and then shooting and you just disappear. But now the drone operators have this absolutely new role, and the role of sniper changes actually. Is it so?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, uh, yo, with drone operators, I mean, the redundancy came into sniping completely. Because one, you cannot be stationary for that long unless you're in a CQB area, in a area, urban area. I can say probably yes, it's not redundant 100%. But in tree line to tree line or wooded area, a sniper is redundant. You cannot go into such a hiding that the thermal drones of the Russians won't pick you up. And if they see you with a long gun, they will not fucking stop. They will not. They will just continue, continue, continue. And I mean, yeah, I think again talking about the drone operators. Remember, they like a cheating artillery piece, eh? So nah, they do a lot of damage and they keep our lines safe, but they also you need the infantry physical soldier to be there, the one that they can hear, know that is there and can see is there. It's just it's not only a psychology thing. It's a must because if they start storming in a large amount of force, a drone pilot cannot determine how to accurately eliminate. They can see there's 100. Here comes 20 of them. Okay, we're gonna take out 20, but they can't see. Okay, there's 20 of them. This one has got a machine gun. This one has got a AK, and this one has got a PKM. Okay, so we need to eliminate the following. The operator doesn't see that. I mean, and that's why I think infantry is still very important.
Yeah. And the way the role changes again, when you're a sniper, you need to have good disguise to blend with the environment. That
Yeah.
is probably the most crucial thing you need to have as a sniper. And you should always remain in your place, no matter if something
No
explodes
movement.
around you.
No movement. Movement.
Yeah,
If they see movement, you did.
yeah, and now it changes because no matter what you do,
Yeah.
they can spot you. Question from Bong Bong Marcos. Where can we donate big cash to Viper and his unit? More brigades need more donations. So the answer is the link is in the description, and also Ali in the chat is posting the link where you can help Viper's unit with the drones, which is very important. Another one comes from Caitlin T. Amazing people from all over the world. That's when you were talking about your unit, consisting of many, many other nationalities. People from all over the world protecting freedom and rule of law. Much love and respect to you, Viper, and your unit. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Another one from Nonstop. How do you all find time to stay in shape just out of interest? And what would be a basic level needed to give yourself the best chance?
So how do we stay in shape? We stay in shape by exercise. Whenever we're not on rotation or on the line, we do exercise. So we do physical exercise like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, Sometimes it's not possible for us to go for a run, but then we do also active shooting training. So where you literally got all your kit on and you manipulate situations, and there's a lot of running and a lot of movement. So by continuously training that, your body gets in rhythm or keeps in rhythm with what the physical demand is to operate, and that's how you stay fit.
Absolutely. We during our deployments we usually had some kind of, I don't know, like a mini gym, makeshift,
Yeah, we've also,
bench.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, we actually got weights. We've got a room where we can, where my guys can go in and do weight training. Yeah.
yeah, and it's always cool when you have like we don't have such thing now, but back then you could have such thing as boring deployment, you know,
Yeah.
when nothing happens. And what the guys do, they just like train like crazy, and they return home looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's cool because they're always in the great shape. But another thing is, again, in the army generally, you always drag some things somewhere, you carry
Yeah.
some stuff,
Yeah.
you reload
You
the
always got something
ammunition.
going.
Yeah, yeah, and it also helps you stay in shape. Of course, if you want to do more, you also train to be able to withstand more challenges. But generally, it's like running around in the armor and with all the equipment and with all the ammunition and the backpack. That keeps you in good shape by itself, generally. Question from It Wasn't Me. Please help me here. Is блядь Russian or Ukrainian or maybe both? Can you explain this one?
Не розумію.
So it's like this. Блядь in Russian language, that is like Russian word. In Ukrainian, it's блядь with the T on the end. That is important to remember if you don't want to mix them up. And generally, Ukrainian блядь it's kind of more like softer or milder way of expressing your emotions because Ukrainians generally like soft and mild things. We are, you know, kittens armed with Western weaponry. That is us. So another question from Caitlin T: are there alternatives to those Mavics? Thinking of reducing dependence on China as much as possible. Perhaps alternatives need to be built in Europe. Just a thought. What do you think about it?
There is. It's about production cost. There's a lot of other difference. And remember, we might ask for Mavic 3T, but once our geek squad has been busy with it, it's not completely a Mavic 3T anymore. It's just the platform that they start off.
Yeah. And generally, I think I can also answer this one. Generally, there's a whole infrastructure in Ukraine
Uh,
dedicated to Mavics because when you receive a Mavic, you need to change the how do you call this thing?
chip, the radio receiving chip that's in the Mavic.
Chips, also software, etc.,
Yeah,
etc. So you make
there's
sure
a
that
couple of things.
yeah, and they are developed in Ukraine specifically for Mavics. So there's a software that integrates Mavic in the rest of the infrastructure. That is why Mavics are mostly used. And generally, it's hard to find replacements for Chinese parts because for some reason they are mostly produced in China and nowhere else. That's
Uh,
unfortunately a fact. So we hate it, but there's not much we can do about it. Firmware, yes, that is,
Firmware, yeah,
yeah,
firmware.
that's the word. Um, Someone special says Geek Squad. Yes, that's us. That's us. Um, Glenn D says, I'm Ukrainian from Canada and I don't like borscht either.
Thank you.
What can I say? What
Thank
can I
you.
say?
We're starting a anti-Bulls movement now.
Yeah. What do you think about pizza with pineapples?
I can do that, but I can't do pizza with corn, which you guys are also love to do.
No, I like
Well,
either corn or
yeah, no, I don't do pizza and corn. But I remember now when we were in training in Lviv area, we had limited accessibility to pizzas though. But I see it's quite a reputable thing to put corn on pizzas here because even close to us there's a pizza shop. They also put corn into. It's maybe like I don't know, like a delicatessen for their pizzas or something. Or they're young
I
from
don't.
Africa and they know we grow millies, so they throw corn. Or we grow corn in South Africa and they throw corn on the pizza because they know I'm South African.
Uh, I don't know. Like pizza with corn, it's like kind of cool, but I can accept pizza with pineapples myself easily because like why not?
Yeah, I like pizza
But
and pineapple.
yeah, Hawaiian pizza, it's delicious.
No problem.
We gotta stick together, guys. If you, dear chat, if you support pizza with pineapples, please leave a thumbs up. We have thumbs down already. Um, so yeah, and when you said that you don't like borscht, Maranto T33 said this is straight up heresy, 100%. But what can we say? Terry Vivchar says how things carried on, and Terry Vivchar is my old friend from Canada from the times when I still had Facebook because I don't have it anymore. So it's very nice to see you here, Terry. Christian Kanz asks, how are the glide bomb attacks at the moment? Because gliding bombs are freaking nasty.
Well, they should. At the moment, I can only speak again in a specific area where I'm operating, and with the integration of air support, it helps a lot. Uh, did it eliminate it completely? No, but it did make a huge difference.
Yeah. The air-to-air missiles like AIM 120, as far as I remember, it has a range of something like 70 kilometers. I might be wrong, of course, but something like that. And generally, that is pretty much enough to keep the Russian
Take out.
aviation away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what another question from Nonstop. Is there a way to identify enemy drones other than the direction they come from, unless they stay well out of way? Any drone would likely be shot at just to stay on the safe side. Um, I think you cannot really talk about it, like how you identify
Yeah, unfortunately not.
enemy drones. Yeah. So there is a way, dear Nonstop, but cannot talk much. Why do the infantry not have drone operators with them?
That I can't answer.
Um, Generally, drone operators. In Ukrainian army, we already have companies called Rubak, which is company of unmanned battle air complexes, and those companies are basically the companies where the drone operators serve, and they get attached to unit or a company or a group if needed, or a reconnaissance team or artillery battalion. So this is how it works. What else? We have quite a few questions here. Um, yeah, I feel like current day sniper spotter teams would include a drone just for reconnaissance. It's a question from Suicidal Banana.
You will not send out a sniper and a reconnaissance officer because why would you do that? For what reason?
Yeah,
If I can take a reconnaissance drone, look at it, say for instance, for argues sake, 800 meters, let's call it that, 800-meter area, and I can use an FPV to do exact precision strike. Why would I want a sniper there or a reconnaissance officer that they have to put their lives on the line?
yeah, yeah,
Or
absolutely.
dropper for that moment.
Yeah. Darren Corrigan asks, "What's a good beer? Apparently, in the South Africa, is it Castle?
Oh, yeah, Castle. Castle's a very good
Castle.
beer. Castle or Black Label.
Hmm. I gotta try. I gotta try. I never tried one from South Africa, but Nine Moon Planet asks, "What's the good beer in Ukraine?" Good to know. Planning on being in Ukraine soon. Did you try Ukrainian beer?
I'm not big on beer, man. It gives me a belly, and then I have to work double as hard to get it off.
Yeah.
So I normally drink. I also don't drink like strong stuff like whiskey and stuff. I'm a wine drinker. I love a good red bottle of wine that I enjoy. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, and H. Saurid asks a question for Viper. Have you had Salo so far?
Of course I had solo. I love solo. Solo's nice. It's meat. As long as it's meat and fat. That's the best.
Yeah. One trick that we used to make, um, like usually, it's like whenever you have access to fire or a stove or whatever, you take salo, you cut it in tiny, tiny pieces like this big, and then you put them on a stick and on a fire, and you eat it
Oh,
with black bread, and it's just so good.
so I take smashed again, kartoffelen. That kartoffelen
Yeah,
powder with salu, and I cut it up and I put it in a pan and I make the salu crisp and then throw all that fat, all that nice little juice into the kartoffelen smash like we know it.
yeah.
Kartoffelen powder.
Yeah, it's like you take a potato, you cut it in half, you take a piece of salad and you stick it inside, and you wrap it into a tin foil and throw it in a
Oh,
fire, and
that
it's
sounds
perfect.
sounds good.
Yeah, and it smells like
Oh,
smoke, smells properly. You don't have that
man,
at
I'm
home.
hungry now. And I'm
Yeah.
not in an area where I can just go and order bulk food, pizza. Oh,
Sorry to hear that. Okay, we crossed the mark of 2 hours, and it was amazing conversation. I think that we should do it again.
yeah.
Maybe for like UATV, why not? Guys, thank you so much for your amazing questions. And please let me know in the commentaries what else you would like to ask Viper. I will pass your questions to him. Bro, is there anything you would like to say to our viewers before we call it a night?
Yeah, I just want to say, guys, thank you for supporting Ukraine. It's an amazing country. It's amazing people. Please do not stop supporting them. Make sure that you get your information from the right sources. That's the most important. Do not listen to the empty symbols hitting around you, but get the right sources that directly gets it from government, from in Ukraine, from where it's supposed to come. Uh, and then to all our wonderful Russian subscribers, fuck, I hope I don't find you in the field.
Yeah, generally, yeah. Today we learned that Russians make amazing fertilizer, which I completely
Amazing, yeah.
agree. Amazing, not normal. It's just
Uh,
perfect. What
amazing.
more can I say? Dear friends, thank you so much for watching. Big thanks to our moderators in the chat. Big thanks to Blonde. She's also in the
Yeah,
chat.
amazing.
And
Thanks.
also, big thanks to all the members of this channel for helping
Yeah,
to run this channel physically. Thank you so much for your support. The link to the coffee, if you want to help
yeah.
Viper's unit, please, you can find it also in the description. And thanks for standing with Ukraine and for Ukraine, because this is a proper thing to do. Thank you so much, my dear friends. We'll see you in the next
Thanks,
one. And
guys.
as always, be safe. Goodbye. Viper, don't run. Just a
Okay.
second.